Mm-hmm.
Well, science on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And we
All right,
should be
welcome.
live.
Awesome. Welcome everybody to the Permissionless Software Foundation Technical Steering Meeting. My name is Chris Troutner. It is Wednesday, September 22nd. And this is the Technical Steering Committee meeting, so it's our opportunity to sort of celebrate the technical achievements that we've had over the last couple weeks. And so we've got an agenda, which I'll share shortly. And then after the agenda, we'll just go into a roundtable discussion to talk about, any technical topics or news items that have caught our interest. So let's start with a quick round of introductions. As I said, I'm Chris Troutner. I help found the Permissionless Software Foundation, and I manage fullstack.cash, which is our commercial arm that does hosted blockchain services and infrastructure. Aaron Shoemaker, why don't you go next? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was checking the sound on the phone here. So we're all good with it. My name is Aaron Shoemaker. I work with 360 Video VR development, and that brought me into the NFT world, which brought me to PSF, and I'm helping work with the developer program and hope to be getting a full stack node going as soon as I can figure out the Cisco servers I got here in my house.
Nice. Go ahead, Stoyan.
My name is Stoyan Zhekov, and I'm helping with maintaining the JavaScript libraries for PSF. So from me.
All right, go ahead, Aaron.
I'm Aaron Sunman, and I've been a big fan of the DAO creation idea and what permissionless software has done to make developing in this space more fun, more integrated, easier, and permissionless. So I know that's in the name, but it needs to be obvious that there needs to be some decentralized mechanism to make all this stuff work. And I'm so glad to be a part of this this program to make this happen work.
That's great. Well, I think the most important word you used is fun. This stuff needs to be fun. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll jump into the agenda. Okay, I've got the agenda up here. So as always, our agenda is on github.com under the Permissionless Software Foundation group, under the TSC repository for Technical Steering Committee, and we file them under the Issues tab. So let's just go down the list. So this is all the sort of technical accomplishments that that the community's achieved over the last couple of weeks. I'm always looking for additions of these agendas. People are free to add comments to the agendas or submit a new issue with whatever they've achieved, and we'll add it to the agenda. So our core software, which makes up the BCH API, which is our REST API, BCH.js, which is our JavaScript library, and the Gatsby IPFS web wallet, which is a Gatsby theme for the wallet at wallet.fullstack.cash. That makes up pretty much the core software. I've been playing around with doing some like basic indexing of like the way an indexer would work. And I realized that BCH API at some point in the past had this get block hash function accidentally deleted. And it's important. So if you want to get the information on a block from a full node, you can't just ask it for the block height. You have to give it the block hash. So there's a two-step process. You have to request a block hash given a block height, and then with the hash, you can request the actual contents of a block. So somehow that had gotten deleted from BCH API, but it was still in BCH.js, and that was essentially a dead API call. So that's fixed now. And I think somebody had reported this in the past, but they hadn't done it in a way that like I was like, oh yeah, this functionality is missing. So anyways, that's fixed now. This Mr. Zwetz, for how I don't know how I would normally pronounce that. He's been in our chat room, and he's been making a series of pull requests to the web wallet to get it up to speed with the eCash rebranding. There's both the denomination of the currency, and then there's the rebranding from BCHA to XE or to eCash. And so he's been doing a series of pull requests. I've already merged the sort of back-end pull requests that he added to fix the redenomination. So the eCash version of the web wallet is working now. Like if you put in $1, you'll actually get an equivalent amount of BCHA. So that's great. So thank you, Matthew or Mr. Zetz, or however you want to be identified. Got a link there to your GitHub profile. And then Daniel's reviewing some of the front end requests that he's submitted to help with the actual to get that web wallet actually rebranded from BCHA into eCash. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really stoked whenever community members take the initiative to change the code in the way that they feel is right, and this is a clear-cut case where like clearly this is work that needed to be done. It just needs to be done. So I love seeing people step up and do it. Gary, who is one of our regular developers in Venezuela, he's been making steady improvements to the minimal AVEX wallet, and bringing it up to feature parity with our minimal SLP wallet. So it's a JavaScript library. It's compiled for use in front end, so in the web page, and it's what powers the web wallet. It's essentially what handles the private keys and making transactions and handling tokens. So that's the wallet engine behind all the front end graphics. And so the idea here is to bring the minimal AVEX wallet up to feature parity with minimal SLP wallet. They have all the same function calls. So you shouldn't really need to think about the low-level details of the differences between the blockchains. When you're working with the web wallet, you should just be able to make the same call for a different blockchain and get the same result. So that's pretty exciting. And Daniel's been making steady improvements on the Gatsby IPFS web wallet to integrate IPFS Cord. So this is part of this grand plan of right now our web wallet at wallet.fullstack.cash. It uses the centralized method, which is a REST API, which is the way every website on the web works. And so we're nearing the end of the integration phase, where you'll be able to go into the configuration tab, and there will be the configuration menu item, and there will be a IPFS tab, and you can hit decentralized mode, and then it'll spin up a IPFS node within the web page and start to access the Bitcoin Cash blockchain or the other two blockchains over IPFS. And so what this does, as an American, if you're an American, you probably wouldn't do this because it would actually degrade performance. But if you're in a place like China that who has the firewall with AI that automatically looks and detects websites that talk about Bitcoin and blocks them, you'll be able to circumvent that and get both the front end web app and the back end services over IPFS, which has proven to be effective at circumventing the Chinese firewall. And it's a good model for other regimes that might try to regulate cryptocurrencies.
Pretty cool.
And yeah. I mean, it's steady progress at this point. I feel like I talk about it every time we have a meeting, but what's important is that we see steady progress, and we are just Daniel's marching right along. I think all the back end stuff's pretty much done at this point. So it's just this integration into the front end.
I think that's
awesome.
One of the big things about that too is like the story you told last time about the gal who wanted to get paid which, we all know that cryptocurrencies work globally, but there's still the person needs to be able to access something that generates an account and generates a wallet. And this is the kind of thing that makes it possible. Rubber meets the road. It goes from, cryptocurrencies work everywhere to it actually works for a real person. So this is great.
Exactly. Okay, so that kind of wraps up the improvements to our core software. Moving on into this sort of new field of JSON RPC over IPFS and the pay-to-write database here. So Aaron Sundman has claimed 2 of the circuit relay bounties. And for anybody interested, I have a link to the bounties. There's still more bounties to be claimed. He set up a circuit relay in Japan and Singapore. And this is the wonderful thing about being on the internet, is you don't actually have to be located in those areas. You just have to find a computer that you can access in those areas. And so thank you, Aaron, for maintaining those. And it's basically what we're doing, this whole IPFS over JSON RPC over IPFS, and this way of accessing the blockchain. What we're effectively doing is creating a sub network on IPFS. So our nodes don't really interact with other IPFS nodes. They're fully capable of it, but their primary purpose is to create a sub network of nodes that are concerned with PSF stuff. And just by having these 2 extra circuit relays set up, and circuit relays are critical because their whole job is to help other nodes talk to one another that otherwise wouldn't be able to talk to one another. And so just by setting up these 2 circuit relays, I've noticed a huge improvement in the reliability of our network. When you bring up the command line wallet and you issue commands, like now the command line wallet has 3 or 4 different options in terms of how to get from my computer to whatever computer serving the blockchain services. It can route through, I think we have 4 or 5 of them on the network now. So if for some reason it can't, and what I've noticed is it's not so much about censorship. That's an extreme. It's more about latency, where if my computer has to talk to a computer in Germany to then go back to a computer in the States, it's a very long route and it leads to a very poor user experience. So just by simply having these circuit relays, having one geographically close to wherever the user is, makes the whole experience better.
So
Fantastic.
when you're saying you're creating a subnet on the IPFS network, meaning we're using IPF protocol to link these circuit relays together, correct? So does somebody have to access the circuit relay through an IPFS gateway?
No, because what happens is the gateways are typically just used for consuming content over IPFS, but what's actually happening is, in the case of the command line wallet, you're spinning up a node and you're accessing that other node directly. And so there's no need for a gateway. And then same thing with the web wallet. In decentralized mode, you're actually spinning up an IPFS node within the web page. And so it's accessing those other nodes on the IPFS network directly. And so there's no need for a gateway.
That's pretty cool.
I also liked how when you were talking about this at the Shapeshift demo that you did, how you were kind of opening their eyes to this capability. I don't think a lot of them had considered this. At least it didn't sound like it. They were sort of asking you questions. So it feels like, taking these ideas of what you've done and helping these other DAOs understand what's possible, and it's great as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think I blew some minds with that presentation. Some of those engineers have been asking me questions. They're definitely interested. And in that video, the guy asking the questions was their head of engineering. So I'm really glad to see that I piqued his interest. Yeah. So, okay. So there's more bounties available for anybody who wants to step up. We have bounties for both circuit relays and wallet service providers. So just running a full stack to be able to access the blockchain and provide all the wallet services, which I'm going to be releasing some videos, some like how-to videos on that. And Aaron's getting a new computer, so he's going to be the first guinea pig on that. And so we'll be adding more videos to help people with those bounties.
Got a question on that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say running a full stack, does it work as a REST API, or is it going to work in this JSON over RPC fashion?
Both. So the stack is actually, let me just good time to just sort of bring this up. So just to get cache strap page. Yeah, that is. Oh no, that's not the page. Am I still sharing my screen?
No, you stopped.
It just ended.
I must have hit a button by accident. So if you go to fullstack.cash and click on the menu, you can go to this cache strap page, and this is the IPFS command to connect to our file server, and so setting up a cache stack involves creating a Bitcoin Cash full node, the Fulcrum indexer, and the SLPDB indexer. And you need to these are pre-synced databases, so you don't have to sync from Genesis. So this is much faster. You can just download it, and then the syncing will only take like an hour or two to catch up from where the snapshot was. And so it's running. It involves running a series of Docker containers, and so that will set up a complete cache stack. So it's these three bottom layers is what it's primarily concerned with, is setting these up. And you should be able to run all of this on a computer, a desktop with 32 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte hard drive. I think everything should fit in that footprint. And then when you have this, the next layer of software on top of the REST API is the IPFS BCH wallet service, and it will operate that will pipe the REST API over IPFS. And so the people with the web wallet or the command line wallet will then be able to connect to your computer over IPFS via a circuit relay, and access the blockchain through your machine. And but then you locally, if you're developing locally, you'll have direct access to the blockchain. It'll be very fast, very snappy, because you'll have a latency of 0 essentially.
Okay, yeah, that was one of my questions too. Is because I want to stand one up to make sure that I'm helping out the mesh network and the IPFS, but I'd also like to be able to, like you said, have my own access to quickly. So I just have to configure the settings so that I point at my own box. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll have a local URL that you can point BCHJS at, and yeah, exactly.
Okay, excellent.
Chris, what are the network requirements for this configuration? You mentioned about the RAM and the HDD, but what about the network? What kind of network should these guys have?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's been part of what I've been working on with the IPFS Chord library is trying to, there were some bugs in IPFS that would make the network like bandwidth just spike for like no good reason. And that's been fixed. So what I've noticed is the bandwidth kind of alternates between 100 kilobits and like maybe 500 kilobits, like maybe half a meg. So if you're on DSL, like I've got 2 of them running right now, I'm still managing to do a Zoom call pretty well. And I'm on a pretty crappy DSL connection. And so the network requirements are not big. I mean, obviously, if a lot of people start using the service, then that's going to increase the network usage. But in terms of just sitting there passively, I think it's somewhere between 100 kilobits and 500 kilobits of network usage of just the IPFS node basically talking to the other nodes in the mesh network.
If a lot of people start using the service too, though, that's going to create demand for more of these cache stacks to run, and so economic demand should help to settle that.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's just it. As the network grows in usage, it also grows in capacity. And so no one node should be bearing a burden. And you can always use, particularly if you set one of these cache stacks up on a dedicated computer, then you can use operating system level bandwidth throttling. I don't know if it's UFW that I used last time. I'd have to look, but there are ways to essentially set up the bandwidth limiting at the operating system level, so that you can offer up to like maybe a megabit or something of traffic to the network, and then throttle. You just won't go over that. People will just have a higher latency if it starts going over that, and at which point, like I have a video on the command line wallet showing how to look at all the available service providers and select a specific one. And so the idea there is, like, if you start experiencing, having a poor experience, you would just switch to a different service provider.
I have one more question. Will this stack work behind a firewall also? Like, what are requirements for the incoming port connections?
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of using these circuit relays. They take care of all of that. You don't have to think about the networking at all, or the firewalls at all. What essentially is happening is the circuit relays are these lightweight IPFS nodes that need to be connected to like a VPS, like some sort of cloud provider with a good internet connection that everybody can connect to, and no firewalls. And as long as that's there, then if you're running one of these service provider stacks, one of these cache stacks, you don't need to think about the networking, because your node's going to connect to the circuit relay and or all the circuit relays, and everyone else is going to be able to connect to your node through one of those circuit relays. And so that's the beauty of this whole thing, is like, you don't have to worry about port forwarding and firewalls. You don't have to worry about SSL certificates. Everything's automatically end-to-end encrypted. And so that's one of the things that makes this paradigm like very different, is the lack of DevOps required.
Okay. Thanks.
Really good question. I'm glad you guys are asking these questions, because I know other people are going to be asking.
Well, I'm interested in setting up something here too, because I like the idea of chat.fullstack.cash, and I thought, hey, it'd be nice to have a server here, so it's not, the messaging's not going out everywhere else. If I'm going to use it for people in where I'm at, it goes through somewhere very local, so I like that idea.
So I'm going to see if I can pull this up, but for those who are interested in setting up their own stack, where were those Dells? Yeah, I think it's this one.
You definitely recommend SSDs, right? I mean, that was the other big thing, was a terabyte SSD as opposed to a slow 7,200 RPM hard drive.
Yeah, you can see some of these desktop here. This one's 300. This one's got 32. I don't know, but basically around 400 is what we're buying these old Dells for. You can install Linux on them, and I'm going to cover this in a video. But what I'm doing is, so they typically ship with 32 gigabytes of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD. And what I've been doing is installing a USB 3.0 card on there if they didn't come with USB 3.0, and then getting a 4 terabyte external hard drive that's USB 3.0 capable. And because, like, once you get a node or these indexers, same thing with these indexers, once they're fully synced, when they're syncing, you need to have those on an SSD, because its speed is everything. But then once it's fully synced, they're just kind of like, they're not really doing a whole lot until a new block comes in. They're just processing like the transactions as they come in over the wire, and it doesn't really require much in terms of performance. And so what I will typically do is I'll sync the node or the indexers on the SSD and then move them over to the external hard drive on USB 3.0, which is because the USB 3.0 I think is like 4 gigabits per second. It's incredibly fast. And
it can be.
And
it can be. Sometimes it's
slower. Yeah, it can be. Yeah, it's not quite so fast for the way we'd be using it.
I think it's supposed to be rated for 10, but you know, I've never seen that.
I did some tests and I was actually getting over 4 gigabits. I think it's like technically 45 or 48, or 4.8. And I was actually, I did some tests and I actually like, you know, just a bulk move from like an SSD to one of these external hard drives, and I was getting about 4 gigabits.
And something to keep in mind for the storage again, for people, SSDs do not last forever. They have a maximum write and read that after a while they start to degrade. That's why Chris is right. Getting a spinny drive to back this stuff up on is probably a good idea. And then maybe those spinny drives are so cheap you could get 8 terabytes for like $100 now. Maybe going redundant and doing a RAID storage, something like that. Something like RAID 5 or RAID 6 might be the way to go, to where you have some redundancy on that storage as well, and you're using the SSD as an ingest, and then you're moving things, and you can even set up a protocol that'll do that automatically, so you don't have to sit there and do that all the time.
Yeah, I've done all of that, so I can coach anybody who wants to do that.
Calling them spinny drives. I think that's a new way. I'm going to start calling them spinny drives. I think that's
what I always call them. They're spinnies, and then the SSDs are, you know, your solid and spinny.
Yeah. You do have to watch out with the solid state drives. Is you want to remove swap space. That's why it's important to get 32 gigabytes of RAM or as much RAM as you can, because you don't want to use swap space on a solid state drive, because that'll cause early failure. Because you're right, they only have so many writes and reads, and if you set them up for swap space, you're going to get extremely rapid writes and reads, and it'll cause your solid state drive to fail prematurely.
I pretty much killed one SSD just farming for Chia. I was just trying it out. I ended up getting 2 Chia out of it, but it pretty much killed my SSD.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
The reason I say that is because a lot of people don't even know that, and they don't keep that in mind when they're getting an SSD. They just think, this is it. I bought my really fast drive, and that's it. NVMEs are also an alternative. Those tend to be a little bit more expensive, but they are, if you match them with a PCI 3 or even a PCI 4, you have incredible read-write speed. I think those can go up to 20 gigabits, so they're really fast. That's PCI 4, and again, not everybody's going to have PCI 4 on their computer. Only, I think Asus is, or not Asus, the AMD is the only one making motherboards with PCI 4 Express right now. So.
Yeah. So I encourage people, so what Aaron's doing and what I've done is, you know, you're looking at about $400 if you want to get a nice desktop with 32 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD. That should be enough to run your own cache stack, and that way you're like totally independent as a developer in terms of these things. And then from there you can expand it, like I said, with USB 3.0, external hard drives, you know, whatever. But that at least gets, if anybody out there wants to develop, you know, Bitcoin Cash apps and be completely independent from any third party, that's what you can do. That's the price tag for about $400. Okay, so we talked about bounties. So as part of the bounties, I slapped together an app real quick called IPFS Service Metrics. And actually, this is so cool. I do want to share this. So if you go to explorer.fullstack.cash, this is the explorer for the pay-to-write database. And we're going to be adding, I've got several tasks assigned to Daniel to make some pretty cool improvements to this Explorer. So basically you bring it up and you want to go to this Explorer tab on the left, and pretty soon it'll just automatically do that. You won't have to manually do that. And every 20 seconds, it will refresh this list. These are all the latest database entries in the pay-to-write database, and most of them will be, let me see if I can make this bigger for the screen. Most of them on the right here is this PSF metrics app that I have running. So once an hour, it records to the database the statistics on what's on the other nodes in the mesh network. And so if you click on the transaction link, that'll take you to the Block Explorer, which is the transaction that was the proof of burn that burned a PSF token to allow this write to the database. And if you click on the hash link, it'll open up a summary of the data that's in the database, and usually it's JSON. So what we're going to be doing, one of the other improvements we're going to make, is that this will automatically be prettified for you. And I don't know if I can do it. Yeah, I'm not going to bother doing it right now, but if you put this in, or actually, you know what, another thing that you can do, I know this will work, is I can take the hat. So like I said, we're going to make some improvements here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully by the next meeting where this isn't so painful. But I know I can go there and entry and hash, and I can put the hash there. And I know my browser will automatically prettify some of it. It didn't prettify the data. But what's in here is the node, all the circuit relays and the latencies of those circuit relays. So here is the node in Singapore, and yeah, technical difficulties, and then there's these latency scores. So essentially, yeah, it looks pretty ugly here, but essentially what it's doing is it's measuring the latency to each circuit relay that it can find on the database, and then it's recording that data once an hour to the pay-to-write database. And so this is just a very basic metrics, and this is how we're going to pay out the bounties for running these nodes on the networks. Is we'll have this metrics service just checking out the relays, and so the requirement for the bounty is you have to have your thing up for a month. And so this metrics app will just verify that and record it. So at the end of each month, someone can just look at the entries in the database and make sure that, yep, okay, this node looks like it was up for most of the month. I think the requirement is like 25 days out of the month it needs to be up, and that'll determine the bounty. So kind of fun, baby steps towards good developer tools. That's what we're trying to achieve here.
Oh, that's cool. It's available that you can actually go back and query that. One question on the pay-to-write database, is it one PSF token, or is it like 0.1? What is it to actually write? What is the value? What is the cost structure to write to it?
Yeah, right now it's 0.01.
Okay.
So it's 1/100th of a PSF token, which the PSF token's around 50 cents right now.
Yeah, about 50, I think.
Yeah. So it ends up coming out to like around a penny. Depending on if you do it directly, you can get it a little cheaper. If you use the command line wallet, it's a little more because there's a little donation to the PSF there for using it. So that's how you write it, and then the pay-to-write database, we've got 3 or 4 instances of it up right now, but I anticipate that database will, the people will want to run their own copies of the database because it gives them access. Just like running a cache stack locally gives you direct access to the blockchain, running one of these pay-to-write databases locally gives you direct access to the database. And so one of the things that I've been working on, in fact, it's right here on the agenda, is a token swap app. And so this is based on Vinarmani swap protocol, which is a trustless atomic protocol for trading SLP tokens. And there's three parts to it. There's the signal and the watch and the pay. That's where the swap comes from. And the signal part is the hardest part, and I've got that completed. And in fact, since I still have that tab open, I can hopefully find one of the entries from my tests. Oh, yeah, it looks like it got buried. But anyways, so the idea there is like someone who has a token that they want to sell or a token they want to buy would create an offer, and they'd submit that offer, and they would pay 0.01. They would burn 0.01 PSF tokens in order to add that offer to the database. And what it does is it describes the UTXO that they want to sell. And so part of the app also is like it'll move the tokens you want to sell. It'll move them into a new address to hold them while they're being sold, because what you're actually selling is the UTXO. And then it creates an entry in the database. And then the next step is that someone who wants to buy or sell a token would browse all the entries in the database. And so there's going to be a front end component here to display an order book, and then they would find an order they want to buy or buy or sell, and take the other side of an offer basically, and they would construct a partially signed transaction with their other half of the transaction, and then submit that to the database, and then the original seller would look for that sort of counter offer. And then they would check it, and then they would complete the transaction and broadcast it. And so anyway, so we've been working on this, and basically, so what you would do is you'd run this locally. You'd have a web page similar to the web wallet for looking at the order book and placing new orders or taking the other side of an order. And it's all going to work with the pay-to-write database. And so people who want to buy and sell tokens, which there's a lot of demand for that, will run one of these databases locally. I mean, they won't have to. We're going to offer it publicly, but if you want to do it privately and in a sense, if we offer this service, I don't know how long we'll be able to do that legally. Like right now, I'm pretty sure that's a gray area because we're not actually custodying anything. We're just, it's just a web page essentially that provides public access to public data. We're not doing anything that could be considered like a counterparty to a trade. And that's the beauty of this protocol is, as far as I can tell, and Vin did a lot of research on this. This way of doing these token trades is perfectly legal, and also uncensorable. and so, anyways, I'm pretty excited about this app. But I think that this is the use case that will really rocket the pay-to-write database into wide usage.
Yeah, because that wasn't it always before. The way Vin had written it, it was you write it to the blockchain, and someone's got to query all the blocks and try to find these trades. Yours makes it so much simpler for it to happen. I wasn't sure how he had actually planned on everyone actually accessing, because when I first read the protocol, I loved it, but I couldn't figure out how, like, is someone going to index everything in the SLP and put them somewhere so that people, but none of it becomes centralized. So this removes that.
Well, not really. I mean, the way he was doing it, there's nothing wrong with the way he was doing it. It's just that it put all that data went on chain. And I just don't like that. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's a matter of preference. There's really no right or wrong. It was still decentralized, and it was still end-to-end encrypted, just like ours are. We're really just moving the data off the chain. And then he was going to use a piece of software called BitDB, which is originally what SLPDB was based off of. And it's an incredibly inefficient indexer. But it it could be used for that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way, other than you're going to run into all of the scaling issues like SLPDB has. And I just think that this is a more elegant solution. Plus, this sort of gave us this. I see the pay-to-write database as being the real moneymaker for this DAO in terms of funding development. Like, it's basically at scale, it will fund everything else.
Right.
And the way we're doing it, everything's decentralized. Everything is end-to-end encrypted and private. But this pay-to-write database is sort of like our like, we have, if people burn tokens to interact with the database, then that means that our organization has the income coming in to pay for ongoing development. So it creates a symbiotic relationship between the users and the developers. And that's what a lot of these open source projects lack. And so that's why I'm so focused on this right now.
That's great.
Okay, last thing on the agenda, Daniel added this video page to the PSF website. I think I have it. Yeah, right here. So it's at psfoundation.cash/video. And it's, for those who haven't noticed, on our main webpage, we have a video section. And so this meeting, this is where all of our meetings go, and all of the sort of tutorial and how-to videos. I've been throwing them here. And so this meeting recording is going to go in there. And but now we have this whole video page, which is just the same sort of horizontal scroll. Let me see. Yeah, there's horizontal scrolling. And then you can click on an info with a little blurb about it, and then click on the watch button to actually open it. And we need to fix that permissions, actually. But any of these other ones, you can click on watch and it'll open it. And then you can also go to YouTube and watch it if you don't want to watch it in the modal there. But this video page is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I could really use some community help on this. The way I had them do it is just the same 5 sections repeated over and over again. And so I'd like the top section to be like an introduction, really high level stuff, really fun, entertaining, short stuff. And then sort of as you go down and to the right, it should get more difficult and more technical. And so I was thinking like the top level might just be, governance meetings like this and introductory, or maybe the top level is just really short, fun introductory videos. And then the next one's more like governance, more in-depth governance stuff. And then maybe like the next row is more like how to set up your own cash stack, or how to get started with the web wallet or the JavaScript. So just like break these up into sections. This is really pretty rough at this point, and so I'm open to ideas, and I'm going to keep chipping away at this as I have time. But this would be a great way for community developers to participate, or non-developers to participate, and we have the slush fund to pay to reward people who do this sort of work. So I'll throw that out there to the community.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I've already loved having this available.
Yeah, me too. It's nice to have one place where I can just tell people, yeah, go to psfoundation.cash, and if you want to catch the latest technical steering committee video, like, yeah, it'll be there, first one. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, we definitely we've got a lot of video content, and but we're not leveraging it properly because it's not organized properly. So I'm hoping this video will solve that problem.
Chris, is it more easy, for example, to use these dedicated services like Odyssey, or what was the name? It's also blockchain based. It's decentralized, but they have all video related stuff already in place, like voting and stuff like this one. So it would be easier just to have a channel there and put all the content there.
Yeah, we do. We mirror all of the videos that we upload on YouTube are mirrored on Odyssey. And I was doing that for a while, but for some reason my channel seems to have gone down on Odyssey. But you raise a good point. I definitely.
We have a PSF one. I need to mirror some of these things, but I don't know if there's a setting where I can't rip stuff off of YouTube or not, that I need to go in and look at. The other problem with Odyssey is they have a subscriber limit to where you need to have a certain amount of subscribers in order to access the functions of Odyssey. So once you reach a certain amount of subscribers, you don't even need to mirror or upload to another channel. What it will do is it'll automatically upload that for you, like back it up to Odyssey. But unfortunately, since I started the PSF channel and we have like 20 subscribers and there's not enough subscribers on YouTube, it says we're not going to do that and you can't live stream to Odyssey. So while that's a great functionality and I'd love to see us use it, we need a higher subscriber count to access some of those features.
Yeah, that's a good point. I am backing up all of our videos onto, well, I have a RAID 1 array. And so, like, for instance, this video, because we're live streaming, it's going directly to YouTube. We're not going to have a local recording of it. And so I've been using a Node.js app to download content from YouTube, and then I store the videos on my RAID 1 array because just in general, what you raised, Stoyan, is a good point, is that, yeah, we need to make sure that we're not just only on YouTube, because the day will come when they will deplatform us for being in the crypto space. And so for some reason, Rumble has been getting a lot of traction, and I need to check that place out. But I'm definitely a big fan of Odyssey. I'm actually pretty good friends with Jeremy Kauffman, the CEO, from back in the day when he had just started Library. And so I'm a big fan of what they're doing, and definitely want to get our content, be more proactive about getting our content up there. I'm hoping that, like, as our community grows, this will be an excellent, like, sort of thing for non-technical people to participate and be rewarded with PSF tokens. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And yeah, that concludes the agenda. Is there any sort of newsworthy items that caught your guys' attention this week that you want to chat about?
Well, one of the things I want to say is that I was hoping that Stoyan has some more gems for us, because last week's gems were amazing. So
Yeah.
if he's wants the floor for that, it'd be great.
This week topic, NFTs and education. So I hope you like it. I have prepared some stuff.
Oh, you have? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stoyan.
Okay.
Oh, let me turn on sharing. There you go. You should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. So the first gem for today is it.build. Bookmark this site. It's another gem in the crown. This thing is like a visual editor where you can build the crypto related everything. It's already blocks. So let me show you. For example, we will build a small wallet. I already have it. So I will just remove this thing. So for example, first thing you need is maybe mnemonic, right? You need some phrase to start with. So you just put this block here. And yeah, we need to trigger it with some button. So you press the button, you have new mnemonic. So let's put some button here. And we'll connect it to generate. Oops.
It already sounds fun. Press button, get mnemonic.
And here, I'm not good double clicker, but see, you already have you click, you get mnemonic. Great, right? So after this, we need a key pair, right? So you just put here like key pair. And we will get, from this mnemonic, we will get the private key, right? So you click, you get mnemonic, you have a key pair. So here is your private key, but the most interesting stuff that maybe you need will be address, right? So if you connect these guys, see, you have already address. So you click here, you have mnemonic, private key, and you have an address, right? So, for example, you can have like a balance checker. So you have a balance block, and the great stuff is that so we will get the address from here, and this is great here. Just okay, you can connect it to the different blockchains. Maybe I need to make it a little.
Oh, really?
bigger. So
Well, that helps.
yeah, it's Ethereum, but in fact, you can put here like just a second, packages, hard hat. If you put here the testnet, for example, RPC, here you have this thing connected to smart BSH. And
Oh, wow.
and you can display this stuff, for example, and you go like this one. So you have a blocks for example, for QR code. So
Wow.
if you connect this guy to the address, see, you have QR code already. So
That's awesome.
this is like educational tool, I think, is priceless. You can,
Yeah.
I think they even have a blockchain, like see the components here, like burner wallet, like a component and stuff like this one, IRC20 token. So you can educate yourself here so easy. Just put the ready blocks, you combine them, you demonstrate your like point. So
Wow.
it's .build, great tool.
Yeah, that's cool. That sounds like, I mean, it reminds me of the Scratch programming language for kids.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to this. And yeah, what a great way to teach the basics of mnemonics and private keys and addresses and key pairs, and yeah, that's awesome.
Fantastic. That is really neat. Now I want to play with that, especially since you can connect it up to a smart BCH. Seems like it's
this one was good.
Stoyan, I've got a question for you. Have you tried running a smart BCH node locally?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think that might be one of the next things I try and do. I was poking around their website, and it's just a full node. It looks like a full node code. You have to have a BCH full node running, which I do. And so it sounds like you can just get one of these smart BCH full nodes, hook it up to the BCH full node, and then there's probably a syncing process involved, and then you can use that and connect to it directly. So I'm kind of excited about that. Yeah, I'm just wondering what kind of like memory requirements it has.
Right.
This smart BCH testnet, it's like great environment. Like it's so cheap and fast, and the things how to see, they're compatible with the other EVM chains. So when you develop something here for cheap, you can after this using on whatever chain you want. It's like great development environments. So even if you hate BCH or smart BCH, you can just use it like a tool for your development process. I think.
Yeah. The same thing's happening on the Avalanche network, where they have their Fuji test net and then they have their main net, and so I love that this. One of the things I love about this is it's sort of the end of tribalism, because it's like, oh, run it on whatever blockchain you want. The code's the same.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big deal right there. Getting tribalism to start to go, making all of this work together so that you're not feeling like everybody's in their own little campfire and hates everyone else. I feel like this is a big move forward for that. Especially since BCH has been the target of so much hate since Roger split. And well, it wasn't Roger, but you know how that felt like it was one of the big targets. So I feel like this is starting to be okay to run stuff here and work well.
Yeah, there's definitely new paradigm.
Okay, so next interesting stuff. So this smart, the scaffold it's growing on me. Like I have this repository, ZH scaffold it, and the original one have already 200 clones, branches, but I already have a lot of mine. See, this is only mine, and the main one is this smart BCH. If you want to play with these components and everything, you just clone this one and start from there. It's ported to smart BCH, so this configuration, everything, the not working components are removed. So it's pretty much plug and play. You just download it and start working with it. And I already created several, this one is pretty general one, but if you want to start, for example, you want token, you may start with this one, or for the NFTs, this one maybe will be good. So I just want to demonstrate maybe two of these branches because they're pretty fancy. So first, let's see this simple DEX, because this one is good. I think it's very, again, educational. So the usual process is you start your chain. You start your local chain, because going every time through this MetaMask or something, it's time consuming. You need to approve every transaction or everything. But starting your own one is great. After this, you usually deploy some contract. So deploy. And this is the regular Solidity contracts. Maybe I will show them after this, but it's fast. It's local network. So boom, everything is there. And every of this Web3 application, it have backend, which is the blockchain. And you need maybe some front end, because doing everything from the command line is pretty difficult. So you just start your front end. It's the usual Node.js application with ready components. And what we'll have here, just a second, it's slow, but you will be pretty amazed, I think. So we can see in the meantime the contracts. So there, okay, it's here, pop-up. So what we have here, it's a simple DEX where I have 5 BCH and 5 tokens, which I want to trade with. So it's this automatic market maker. So this is the curve that will be the prices for this stuff. Just let me get some it. And for example, you can see if you sell one token to BCH, this will happen, this one, see this fancy graph. So you sell one token and you receive 0.5 something. And on the reverse, if you see this one, and let's now sell one of the tokens. So when you see this, the
Curve
price is again moved on the curve. So next time when you sell one token, it will be different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the price
Mhm.
will go down because, yeah, if you try to sell, for example, 10, see, you will be here on the curve. So I think it's a great educational tool for this, I think, bounding curves.
Yeah, this is exactly how the token liquidity app. I mean, it was Bancor. Their white paper was the first, as far as I know, they're the first one to introduce this concept, and that's what the token liquidity app is based off of.
Yes, but yeah, this is pretty visual, I think, and
Yeah.
great stuff is the contract. So everything of this is done inside this DEX contract, the price and conversions, everything. So it's unstoppable. It's a DEX, a simple DEX for one token. It's how to see what the Uniswap is doing, but just for one pair, BCH to my token, scaffold token. But it's how to see. You can study this one and create your own DEX with many tokens or whatever you want to do. Great start.
Wow, that's really cool. You're gonna stand that up really fast too.
Yeah.
So in that first tab, when you, I think it was the first command you ran, and you said it needed to sync. So is that running? Are you connected to the test net, or are you running your own local network, or like a?
No, it's closed local network. But
Okay.
You can deploy this contract like this deploy command I showed previous week. It just have a parameter. You can deploy this contract to testnet, and after this, you can connect here with your MetaMask and start working with testnet without any changes. Just with this one, you get this burner wallet for free. So you don't need any time to go through the MetaMask. You have this full featured wallet here. So you see my old transactions are very fast. Like educational tool, great, but you can progress very fastly for mainnet or testnet. So this one was first very fancy stuff, the simple DEX. And the other one is NFT. Everybody like NFT. So this one I already deployed even on the testnet. It's test NFTs search.sh. And I think it's the best NFT market in the BCH universe.
That's got my vote.
Yeah, it's how to see. Just a second, because all of the pictures are on the Ipfs, so it takes some time to load them. But pretty much, it's here is the market, and inside your own like NFTs, you can you can make something for sale. Just put a price here on it, and it will go to the assets area here for selling, or you can transfer it to somebody for free. You can cancel the sale or everything. And the most fancy one is you can mint a new one. It's very easy. Just like put some picture here, upload it to the Ipfs. And again, it's very slow. It's usually showing a lot of pictures, but now the zoom is getting all the bandwidth. So here will be. But after this, you just put some name and description, and you mint the token.
Wow.
And it's pretty much working. You can go to this test.
So the sale's an on-chain thing. So like this is a web page. They're accessing the web page, but when they buy or whatever, then they pay for it with their MetaMask wallet or whatever.
Yes. And what I want to emphasize is you don't need this ID. In fact, it's very fancy and it's ready components, but you don't need it at all because all of these functions are inside the smart contract. So you have, again, unstoppable, decentralized NFT market. If you see you can see this debug tab, all of these functions. So for example, you can where is this thing? Just let me found it. So here is the canceling the sale, and here is where this thing. Here you can sell something. Just put here the ID of your NFT and the price, and you can buy something or something. So everything is just a smart contract. You can send this calls from everything, from every page. So if you take a look on the contract itself, not this one. Minting, yeah, packages are contracts. So all of these are just functions here: sell item, cancel item, buy item. You can send this from Remix or let me make it bigger. So you don't need, in fact, this UI. You can have decentralized market. Everybody with access to the blockchain just send RPC calls and he can trade NFTs.
Wow.
Sell them, buy them, mint them.
That's a lot of tooling. It's a lot of free tooling. That's pretty impressive.
Was that mostly written on the Open Zeppelin from Open Zeppelin code?
The beginning, yes, because how to see, they're already providing already this
right.
They have this is enumerable. It will give you any next NFT a number. It will be like auto increment in the databases, and you can burn them. This ownable, you can have an owner. And so pretty much Open Zeppelin give you like ready template to start with, but you still need to this sell item, buy item, and cancel. They are not part of this IRC 721. They are not part of this. They are part of this contract, so it can make market actions. And the thing that we was talking, the signaling, you have a signals for everything. So all of these contracts, when you do something, they emitting action, this signal. So your application just can listen to this thing, listen for sales, and make some actions. So see, for example, this guy cancel the sale, this guy sell for this thing. So yeah.
Wow.
I think it's.
And then so that's a contract making this sell. So like there's no way, there's no way for someone to like spoof one of those signals, because it's all based on, I imagine it's all based on private keys and signing.
Yeah, the contract is giving these signals. It's not the buyer or seller. When you call some functions, it's just sending this to the blockchain. Somebody sell this thing for this. Right.
It scares me so much having so much of this logic on the blockchain that can't be edited or.
Yeah, but that's why the next thing I will experiment with this upgradable contracts, because let's see, when you upload this one, it's difficult to shut it down.
I mean, I'm glad that we can have both. Like, this is my stance. Is like this is a little too crazy for me. But the fact that there's all this tooling, so like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just not roll your own crypto. That's great. But I'd love to see a world where you can do either or. Well, guys, I got to wrap this up in the next 10-ish minutes. I got to catch a ferry.
Yes. Okay. This was.
But those were great. That's incredibly. I mean, honestly, Stoyan, you just blew my mind, because like you just showed how to set up an online store, an uncensorable online store. That's pretty incredible. I think what I think is going to happen is like everything's going to be tokenized, which I know people have been saying that for years, but I can finally see how it's like let's say you want to, I don't know, buy something on Amazon, like a video game. Well, if that's represented as a token, then like that token can be bought and sold and have this whole like life of its own before it eventually ends up in the hands of the person who then redeems that token for the actual video game on Amazon.com. And so, like, everything, literally everything, can have a secondary market.
Yeah,
A very fluid one.
absolutely. That's what it feels like it's going to, especially with tools like this, which are able to stand up that quickly and make this happen uncensored.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this before, Chris, and I've talked about this with other people. Money was brought in as a means of exchange for intangible goods, right? So how do you trade a bushel of apples to a guy who builds a house? Well, you have an intermediary, which is money. But now we can tokenize that builder's skills, and we can tokenize the apples, and they can trade them directly, which is pretty incredible.
Huge.
To have this idea that this could be, we could essentially be going back to a barter system, but in another way.
Right. Yeah, in a way that's actually efficient rather than completely only two-party, works at a time. Right. That's amazing.
Yeah, I do see that this is kind of the future of where things are headed as far as economies function. And think about what that does for global trade. Now if you're trading a bunch of soybeans from America to, say, Brazil, you don't have to transfer over currencies or anything like that. You tokenize the soybeans, and then you trade based on tokenization of another product. And it may not even be with Brazil. Maybe you're trading Brazil is getting some tokens from, Japan, something we want from Japan, and then they're trading the Japan tokens for maybe electronics to the United States,
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking also just on a much smaller scale of local communities, like here on this little remote island that I live on. I want to get a local currency going so that, like, because there's the people who are here during it's booming over here during the summer, but there's almost no economic activity during the winter when all the tourists leave, and but there are people here who would work if they could get paid, and so by having our own local currency, the local excavator operator can trade services with the local artist who and we have our own local money and economy, just for the locals. And but then that will, if we can get like half a dozen people sort of just trading services, then that eventually is very easy to build that up, and like, okay, well, now the person who runs a store accepts them for groceries, and because she needs excavation work done, and now you have like a real, like, you can actually buy food with this local currency.
Think about what it does for like farmers co-ops, right? And typically right now you enter into a farmer's co-op, you pay an X amount of dollars, you're in the co-op, you get a yield on the food. But this does create a secondary market where you say, all right, I bought into this farmer's co-op, I have these farmer's co-op tokens, I can then sell them, should I not need this food, to somebody who does. And everybody benefits. And it becomes a form of crop insurance for a lot of these companies too. Like a lot of farmers, like, say you could tokenize your cow that you're going to get meat from, and you can sell that off to people, and then people can redeem the tokens for the actual meat once it's gone to slaughter, right? And in the meantime, I could say, you know what, I bought a cow 6 months ago, we haven't gone through it, I scheduled to buy another cow, I don't need it, I don't have any place to put this meat, which becomes a problem for some people because they just don't end up running through as much as they think. Instead of having to go off and sell the meat or give it away, I can sell the token and somebody else can go pick up the meat.
Right.
See, a big component in that example is the ability to the information, the data around, like, I have this thing that I want to sell and I need other people to see that information, and that's where I think the pay to write database could play a big role. Is like this idea behind like an uncensorable Craigslist. We need some equivalent to a classified ad. We need the token component, but we also need some equivalent to a classified ad.
Right.
Very cool. Chris, sounds like you need to go catch the ferry, so
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. They just messaged me to be like, "Oh, we're going to show up a half hour early." So I got to roll with the punches.
Well, we'll see
All right, guys. Well,
later.
Stoyan, thank you for those gems. Keep them coming. I love that. Like you're bringing this EVM knowledge to us because that's just I otherwise we wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
It's great. Okay, guys. Well, keep working, and I'll see you online. And expect more videos for those bounties for the circuit relays and the setting up the cache stack. And if you guys want to push, I probably won't get the videos out in time, Aaron, for when you need them. So I would say either wait if you don't have time, or go ahead and try and struggle through it and ping me on Telegram if you have questions. I'm happy to coach you through it.
Yeah, I think the struggle thing is what I want to do. I'd like to learn while we're doing this.
Great. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Okay. Cheers, guys.
See you.